What you have in front of you are 4 bathroom scales. The one on the lower left is almost brand new. The one on the top and the one diagonal down right are 80s vintage units. The one that's on the top right is a 1947 to 1950 vintage unit the parents had that always works fairly well. The two on the left are very accurate. The two on the right need a little bit of recalibration work done, which is what I'm going to walk you through right now. I'm going to start out with a 1940s vintage unit. As you can see, it has seen considerable use. What I've done ahead of time is put two twisty ties on the springs on the back of the unit. These springs hold the unit together. You can also do this with a pair of needle nose pliers if you just grab a hold of the top of the spring. Now I'll flip the unit over and take the cover off. And here's what it looks like on the inside. Anytime you take something apart, you want to be extra careful not to lose any loose parts, and this scale is no exception. Here's the actual adjustment mechanism. As far as how to make adjustments, the best way is to back off all tension from using the zeroing wheel. A pair of regular pliers grabbed around the tensioning disc is usually the easiest way to do this. If you want to make the scale weigh less, then you want to shorten the spring. If you want to make the scale weigh more, then you want to lengthen the spring. Now for putting it back together, trust me, this is the hard part. You want to pay close attention because this is extremely frustrating. What I've done is tie two twisty ties around the springs and use duct tape to secure the bottom of the springs to keep them from becoming unhitched as I pull the spring tight and try to work the twisty ties through the holes to relax the springs. As you can see, these are some pretty stiff springs. If you'll look closely, you'll notice that there is a weight bias. It's already on the scale. In other words, the scale is offset from zero. This is the offset tension provided by the springs that hold the scale together. Note the position and location of these four small parts that actually transfer the weight from the top to the lower portion of the scale. Make sure you understand how they fit into the scale, and make sure whatever you do, you don't lose one. What you're seeing here is probably the best out of about 6 to 8 takes of me trying to put this thing back together. The springs kept getting unhooked from the inside, and the twisty ties kept coming off the springs. Note the additional trick here is to get the zero wheel back in its proper slot on the cover. The best way I found is to use the twisty ties to pull the spring vertical, then use needle nose pliers to grab a hold of the top of the spring and then pull it up and relatch it. After that, zero the wheel and do a test weight, and hopefully you're done, but more than likely you're going to have to take the scale back apart again to do an extra approximation. Here's an inside look at that 1980s vintage unit. You'll notice that the principles are the same. It's just a lower profile, and the weight transfer mechanism is a little bit different. The spring, of course, is horizontal in this one instead of vertical as it was in the older unit. When you flip the scale over, make sure you hold it tight so the internal components don't fall loose. Take extra special care to look at these little weight transfer brackets on the inside of the scale. Make sure you know how they go back in case one falls out. Here's the top cover. You'll note it still uses 2 springs like the other one did. These 2 springs here, though, are considerably higher in tension than the 2 springs in the older unit. Thus, they're a whole lot harder to get reattached. Thought I'd show you this just to show that it does matter how you use the scale. Depending on how you stand on this old scale, you can get a reading that's as much as 3 to 5 pounds different. Once you find the sweet spot on the scale, you always want to stand on it in the same way to make sure you get a repeatable weight reading. That wraps her up, baby. If you're liking what you're seeing, give me a like and consider subscribing. I just might have something else coming down the pike here real soon you're going to be interested in. Take care, man. Have a great day.